The conversations last year had one major theme, which was the future is green, the future is now. The conversations this year are focusing on the theme that goes powering innovation, accelerating industrialization, and shaping Africa's green future. Now, this particular podcast, which is happening all the way through to September, is meant to really give you all the information that you need to be able to prepare, to participate, and actively join the e-mobility movement. My name is Shaban Senyange, Corporate Affairs Manager at Kira Motors Corporation, and I'm joined by Alan, Bruce, and Richard that are going to be introducing themselves in a bit. So please help me welcome our amazing panelists who are going to be sharing what they do and why it's important to this discussion. So I'll start on my far right. Alan.
Hi, Shaban. It's a pleasure to be here on this podcast, having conversation, especially right after such a riveting launch where a lot has been discussed. I serve as the team leader mobility at the Science, Technology, and Innovation Secretariat. My role is to ensure that the e-mobility players thrive, especially being clear on what the true north is. Because sometimes when you don't know what goal you're working towards, then any direction the wind blows, you just go. And I think today's conversation has been very clear on what the true north is, what our purpose is, and what our strategy is. And that strategy is one. We're making Uganda a net source. You know, being a net source means that there is more going out than is coming in. And I think every conversation has to be around that. How do we ensure we have resilient supply chains to deliver on that? How do we build strong enterprises? How do we access market? And if those things are well addressed, and that's a journey.
Yeah.
You keep tweaking, adjusting a knob here, adjusting a knob here, because in real time, you have to be responding to literally everything.
Yeah. Bruce, where's your true north?
Well, Spiros True North sits squarely in the space that, as Alan has just articulated, and to be able to achieve such growth in such a short span of time, it wouldn't be possible without working backwards on your supply chain. And you see the incentives that government has put in place to drive, to attract serious players in the space. Now we're set up our manufacturing plant, not yet fully operational, but as we speak now, there is a bike line. Also, we're going to start motors locally here too, and batteries. Now, with experience, I'm sure, Alan, you're an expert in these things. You know that to bring the cost of the product down in automobile, you're going to have to bring in parts suppliers. And parts suppliers is a game of economies of scale.
Yeah.
How much, what are the volumes you're playing with? I mean, which space are you in? Spiro, to be able to benefit from that and make use of it in these spaces, has spread into 10 countries across Africa. Right now in East Africa, we're in the regional 3, Rwanda, South Sudan exploratory studies are on, and DRC is up and running soon or very soon. This has now enabled the penetration and the attraction of parts suppliers. So the product value price is going down to the customer. Right. And this has created a huge pull factor. And we can see the consumers coming in aggressively, and it's a sign of the proof of concept and approach to the market. I think for now, that's that.
That's a good intro. Talking about consumers and customers, this is something that Richard is very familiar with. So if you could introduce yourself and how this taps into the conversation today.
Thank you very much. My name is Richard Musani. I head marketing for an establishment, an organization called Q. And Q is an authorized distributor for 4 core brands. One of the brands which is known most is Sinotrack. The other brand is XCMG. The third one is GWM, and the fourth is Heli. And for the viewers of this particular podcast, GWM is one of the leading passenger vehicle brands in China, and we're happy as Q to have introduced it in this market. I think it is a right step for the consumers, especially, first of all, from the cost perspective. When you look into what we call the total vehicle ownership cost, as we call it TVOC, of a customer that acquires an EV relative to the other one that is driving a fuel combustion vehicle, the one driving an EV is likely to be saving in terms of overall cost of the vehicle. And of course, we should not go without mentioning the gains that our country will have in terms of the carbon economy. We have a lot of used vehicles. Ugandans are consuming about 35,000 vehicles every year. And the impact that has in our environment, of course, is huge, because we don't know some of these vehicles are as old as 15, 20 years. So the direction for this country, of course, and obviously, should really be for us to embrace EV. And we are happy with the partners for this particular event today that we are already beginning to make some element of gains towards this particular movement, which is a movement across the globe. Yeah.
Awesome. So earlier we were talking about how this ecosystem is really important into driving Uganda to be able to, one, enhance manufacturing that we have here, but second, increase the adoption of Ugandans towards these technologies that we're creating here. And Alan, I understand that one of the things that is really important to drive that discussion is having a policy framework in place. And one of the things that we always make reference to is the National E-Mobility strategy. So from your perspective, what is the rationale behind this strategy? And maybe a follow-up to that would be, what are some of the expected outcomes that you think this national e-mobility strategy will be able to have on conversations like this?
So Shaban, in 2022, we embarked on a journey to think through for this ecosystem, because this is a space that is emerging. Vehicles have been there for centuries, but this technology is something new. Well, someone could argue that electric vehicles were invented first, but it was ahead of its time, so they first paused. So this thing is a new thing. And it was important that we harmonize our thinking as the whole ecosystem.
Right.
Because it does not make sense for me as government to go sit in a corner somewhere, think for the entire ecosystem,
Right.
and set targets for them, and then say, here you are, adhere. So we actually worked through the entire ecosystem. We even clustered ourselves in 6 clusters to think through in terms of the manufacturers, what do they need. And that helps us to refine and arrive at what our priority areas are and what targets we should set. So that helped to bring about a common understanding, because even if we start casting vision, are we all on the same page? Yeah. So we have 7 priority areas we set. And these priority areas, their overall objective is to position Uganda as a net source of e-mobility solutions. One is local manufacturing. Because if you don't manufacture, you won't be a source.
Sure.
2 is the battery, because the battery we felt shouldn't hide it under local manufacturing.
No.
Because the value it has is great.
It's a major component.
Even has a bigger contribution beyond mobility.
Yeah.
3 was public transport. How do we use this as an opportunity to transform public transport? Because the efforts before have failed. Maybe this is the opportunity that we have to put our foot down and ensure that we have a proper public transport system.
And we're already starting to see a bit of success with some of the initiatives.
4 is charging infrastructure. How do we have a proper backbone of a charging network which will ensure that charge anxiety is not one of the things a buyer who will come to WQ will be worried about.
Yeah.
5th is human capital development. WQ needs people who will maintain these vehicles. Spiro needs people who will work in his production line. He's bringing on board batteries, he's bringing on board motors, needs people to work there. eBus Express needs people who can operate the service and keep the buses on the road. 6th is on now, with these things in place, how do we ensure uptake? How do we catalyze the average Ugandans to buy these vehicles and shift from used vehicles to new electric vehicles made here? And then lastly, the policy environment, the standards we need. to be competitive, to address issues of counterfeits, the regulatory frameworks we need to protect the end users, but also to protect the manufacturers. So these are the 7 priority areas. And each of these 7 have specific targets. Manufacturing, 500,000 vehicles per year, 65% local content. Charging infrastructure, 1 gigawatt hours production capacity.
Yeah.
If it is on public transport, 2030 we should have transitioned. If it is on the human capital, 500,000 skilled to that level. If it is EV uptake, government should, by 2035, be predominantly electric. So there are specific quantifiable targets along which we are working towards.
Yeah.
And that has helped also shape the interventions that we put in place every single year.
Right. One of the things that I think I'm excited about that you're mentioning is these are not just conversations that you're having. You're actually setting real, tangible targets that you can measure against the interventions that you're having so that we can be able to have something to exactly. And I think that's quite important. It's not something that has been happening before. You just hear, for lack of a better word, fancy words, and they're like, yeah, we're getting there, but there's nothing to speak to that dream that you're working towards, and I think that's really brilliant. Talking about numbers, one of the things that you mentioned, what did you say? Did you say 4,000?
4K,
yeah, bikes that have already been on the road, and maybe just wanted to get in the brain of a customer a bit and figure out some of the feedback that you've had about. I mean, Alan has talked about adoption of the technologies that we have from some of the people that are using these bikes. What are some of that feedback that you've had? And then also, what kind of data are you getting from them, and how is that then helping you maybe scale up, and what do opportunities for scaling up look like here in Uganda?
Well, speaking of customers, Spiro from the onset has tried to be very customer-centric in how we came in, started, and respond to those. Earlier on, Alan mentioned that you get going and keep tweaking as you move. You keep tweaking, perfecting the product, and whatever goes along with the product. One of the most unique things about electric vehicles, and I'll speak specifically Spiro and the bike side of the business, is that when someone goes to acquire an ICE bike, internal combustion engine bike, they don't even think twice about where they'll get fuel from. And that's like a foregone conclusion.
Right, yeah.
They only ask about the access to after-sales services, spare parts, and they are done. That's their headache, it is sorted, okay? Now, when you come to a client or somebody who comes to inquire, when you look at the EV space, the product we bring, one, answers the after-sales question before the guy even shows up, because there's no engine.
Yeah.
There's no engine, and the engine is about 70%, 80% of the whole spare parts components that the guy will ever need on that bike.
Right.
All right. So the after-sales question is answered by the very design of the equipment.
Yeah.
All he has to take care of, have a headache on, will be the brake pads, the tire, the few moving parts that he has. The motor, once in a long while, years, will ever need to touch that motor. Now, that means that the combustion is going to be different.
Yeah.
As a manufacturer, and in Africa we're the largest as I speak, as a manufacturer, one of the largest barriers was the guy acquiring a bike with a battery. The cost of the product just went through the sky, way, way beyond what a nice bike would cost. So one of the things that Spiro did was to take that burden off the client and, like the battery, just deal with the battery as a different entity on its own. And the beauty, from what Alan just shared about the strategy, is that the battery has been separated from the product. And so we have a full vertical for energy.
Oh, wow.
What the energy vertical does is the one deems to make access to charging infrastructure as common as access to fuel and whatever it is. We've created 2 key access touch points. One is home charging, so you can go and charge from home. But that now only complements this infrastructure that the guy has been used to
Yeah.
having. And that's the unique thing about EV. You can now have your fuel station at home, yet you can't carry a jerrycan of fuel and take it home with you. So this has gone a step closer
Definitely,
into the customer's space and bringing convenience to his home.
Yeah.
To his home. More than that, we have aggressively had to set up swap stations, literally, to take away anything like range anxiety, anything like swap battery charging anxiety from the guy's mind.
Yeah.
Because if he sees more swap stations, where he sees a pedestrian also sees swap station, in his mind he starts to say this is a normal thing.
Yeah.
And without realizing
That's
it,
genius.
the conscious has been now tuned to know this is a normal thing. Why? Because what they have been looking for, Spiros is now providing.
Yeah.
Convenience. The bike is automatic. You know, when the automatic cars first came, they say it was a barema, sorry for the crippled. Because we were still in a macho man environment and that kind of space.
Yeah.
But it spoke into convenience then. And now you not find a guy, however much he knows how to drive a manual, who will just run into a manual car when there's an automatic version. Convenience.
Yeah. Right.
And of course, finally, there is the tech savvy part. Even the border guy will say, that's
brilliant.
So Jack is playing, and Jack is also working hard.
That's brilliant. I think
and will never be a dull boy.
One of the things that I love that you've highlighted is for a very long time, I think we used to talk about, these solutions being sustainable, but we never tapped into the accessibility, availability, but also in terms of them being quite affordable. And I like that you've also added an element of convenience, which I think is important and helps with the adoption to become much, much quicker, which really drives me to what Richard does best. From your perspective, what do you think, if there's any concerns or some of the feedback you get from consumers that are interested in EV products and technology? What are some of their concerns and how are you trying to address them to help them facilitate that process a lot quicker?
Yeah, of course, the major concern is largely on the charging infrastructure in terms of support. We are aware that EV is quite new in this country, and it will go a long way once we have the support charging infrastructure. Devoid of that one, it becomes a bit of a challenge.
Right.
So if you notice the vehicles that have gone out now, their movement is within the central business district, which is Kampala, and probably the most nearby cities, maybe Masaka or Jinja, largely because, for example, the Haval PHEV that we have gives a customer about 150 kilometers before you actually recharge. As a key brand in this market, GWM has begun by ensuring that all our trade points have the charging infrastructure. Yeah. And we are retail-wise, we are distributed in Busega and also in Bugolobi, and also in our assembly plant in Nachirebe, but also working out partnerships with people like Total Energies, so that we ensure that there's quick and easier access to charging infrastructure. The vehicles that we are distributing currently, it's with ease that you can actually charge from home.
Right.
There's been a bit of misinformation that it requires three-phase power source. In this case, our charging infrastructure does allow, even within home. So I know of customers who have sold 2 vehicles and they will comfortably drive all day and they're able to charge their vehicles from home. Yeah, but that is just one side. But what about now if you're moving all the way from Kampala to Arua? Arua is about 450 kilometers. We need to ensure that there's a network in terms of support charging infrastructure across the country. And I know that there will be gains that will be made in that kind of area. I want to appreciate the Ministry of Science, of course, with the incentives they have put in place. For us, maybe to let you know, Double Q is one of the pioneering organizations in auto within Uganda
Right.
to begin to do what we call local vehicle assembly. So we've recently completed one phase, which is a phase of assembling heavy commercial trucks.
Oh, wow.
We are moving into the next phase to now begin to assemble the passenger vehicle brands. And of course, we've got some heads up that there are a couple of incentives which have been put in place for us to be able to enjoy once we begin to, of course, our way is to manufacture, but we'll start in with local assembly. And so we will tell the viewers that we're putting up phase 2 of our assembly plant for passenger vehicle brands, and we'll put up a line specifically for EV so that we can step up the volume of vehicles that Ugandans can be able to access and probably tear up from the used vehicle imports to actually acquiring EV vehicles, smart EV vehicles. Like you must have seen in today's activity, we had two of them. We had the Haval plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, and we had Aura, which is actually fully electric. Why we brought in the hybrid plug-in hybrid electric vehicle was simply because we are also giving time for the charging infrastructure. So what the Haval plug-in hybrid electric vehicle does is that it gives you 150 kilometers of road powered through your motor after your vehicle is fully charged. After the 150 kilometers, you can quickly switch to fuel.
Right.
So we are answering problems of what about if I'm going to Arua today? There's no charging point between Kampala and Arua. How do I move about that? So we'll now give you can start your EV journey now. We give you a plug-in hybrid electric. You're able to deplete your charge in 150 kilometers, say from here to about Masindi. Once you're in Masindi, put in some fuel that will take you to Arua. Once you're in Arua, sleep over in a hotel, have the vehicle charged, and then get back. So you will have saved probably half the cost in terms of fuel with using the plug-in hybrid electric. Then the Aura model that we also had featuring in today's launch, that one is purely electric. Very good for town runs. Yeah, so it should also give you about the same number of kilometers. Yeah, thank you very much.
Oh, that's brilliant. If you're still with us, we did not forget about you. Would love to hear your comments about how you think you can be a part of these conversations, but also contributing to the National E-Mobility Expo, but also these conversations. What do you think needs to be done to promote the adoption of e-vehicles in Uganda? Leave your comments in the comment sections below. Back to you, Alan. You did talk about the ecosystem. How does the ecosystem look like now? How big is it? And then maybe also a follow-up of that would be, we are celebrating the second edition of the National E-Mobility Expo happening on the 18th to 19th. What would you like to see happen at this year's Expo?
This journey of e-mobility for Uganda started much, much earlier than just 2021 recently. So players were already there in the two-wheeler space, figuring out a few models. The bus side with Kira Motors, infrastructure was barely there.
Right.
So I've seen that ecosystem grow significantly, not just in number, but in strength as well, because the quality of your players also matters.
Yeah.
So we have an over 80 member ecosystem, over 80 players, and these are in the private sector. People are doing manufacturing, people are doing operations, like ride-hailing and things like that, and people who are offering digital infrastructure and the digital systems to enable us, to have smart transport systems in place. But also have the academia, whose role is very critical on the R&D side and skilling. And then we have our development partners who have also been very instrumental in terms of supporting, especially human capital development and infrastructure development. And then, of course, government, through its various departments and agencies and ministries. It has to feed into what we're doing in transport, and then transport has to feed into what energy is doing. So it's an interlinked web. And really that has been how we have been approaching the ecosystem, knowing that every individual or every company has a unique role they are playing, and we have to equip them and enable them to play that role at the best of their ability.
Right.
Now, in terms of the 2025 eMobility Expo, last year we were a bit strong on the investment, but this year our key focus now is how do we build resilient supply chains. Like the Honorable Minister highlighted, the ripple effect of the automotive industry is real. You set up a Spiro, and there are like 100 companies that set up around it to just feed the production line. If you set up a Kira Motors, you set up a Double Q, and there are all these industries that need to come in to deliver on the parts, on the components, on the systems. So that is our outlook. And this year we want to see how we strengthen that.
Yeah.
We are having some friends from some of these countries that have done quite an amazing work on the supply chain who are coming on board as well, so that we can have competitive products and not always have reliance on some of these places where, what they say, if these guys sneeze, we all get a cold. So how do we protect ourselves? But in case they are sneezing, for us, we're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. And to you, Bruce, you're obviously a key player in these conversations, and we encourage people like yourselves and other manufacturers in Uganda to be part of the expo. What would you like to see happen at this year's expo?
I think one of the key things I would like to see for me is a demonstration also, from the government side during the expo of what else it's going to do to incentivize and drive the market towards EV. You notice now speaking about the market. I love it that Alan has stated clearly that we're now going to see these other parts vendors that play with to what enable these manufacturers thrive in this space in the expo. I also would want us to see the other flip side of the coin. Once the supply side is sorted, the demand side needs to be taken care of through incentives. You've seen what incentives did for Tesla, until things changed here and there. When you look at what the government in India did to drive EV, it used incentives to the manufacturers and incentives to drive demand so that guys could switch. If you got an EV, you are saving, you are getting rebates and reductions on your taxes and things like that. So we need to also see that demonstrated in the expo. I don't know how, but I believe it is possible. With STI, many miracles have become
very possible.
Very possible. Yeah, but yes. So that for me, I would like to see that.
Yeah.
And secondly, I would also want to see more players in the space because the more the merrier.
True.
Competition is healthy.
Awesome. Richard?
Great. I think we, as WQ, this is going to be our first time to participate in this expo at Jinja. I am excited to begin to see the progress that we have done as a country towards this EV movement. I call it a movement because it's sweeping the globe. We are anxious, we are excited to see that Africa is joining the other part of the globe to really ensure that we step and embrace this particular movement. I'm excited to see the different players that will be showcasing different vehicles or motorcycles or bicycles in this EV Expo. And of course, catalyze the ability to have our customers quickly switch.
Awesome. So as we wrap up, just one last comment from you guys about, a message to the Ugandan out there who still thinks e-mobility in Uganda is still a myth and is not happening. What would be your message to them, starting with you, Alan?
No pressure. Okay. I think it's been demonstrated. Whoever is out there and they feel that we don't know what we are saying, I encourage you, reach out to Spiro, go experience the bike, reach out to WQ, go see for yourself. Don't just see on the screen. These guys are there, they're open. Even a test ride, they'll give you for free. Yeah, so whoever is out there and you're not sure about this thing, get off that couch, or if you're doing your dishes and listening to the podcast after the dishes, please go to the nearest outlet of any of these e-mobility players. If it's the electric bicycles, EB, Kara, Haraka, Afrocruise, or the e-bikes, Zembo, Gogo, Spiro, or the electric vehicles like with Double Q, or even the bus with KMC. Go and experience this for yourself. Have the first-hand experience. And then come back and tell us.
Bruce?
Well, Alan has done it for me. I'll also add that if you're still skeptical, I'm sure there's something that will change your mind. Think about the economics. Do you want to earn 30% more by just making one decision? At the drop of the hat, just come and get a Spiro bike. You will see a 30% increment in your income on day one of getting that bike. You can reach us at our showroom at Old Port Bay Road. Also, we are available on all social media handles, crazily active on our TikTok. Oh my God.
No dance challenges?
No?
No dance challenges?
You will weave with the Spiro.
Well done.
So you just come, ride yourself into success on a Spiro bike.
Oh, wow.
Your life will never be the same again with Spiro. Thank you.
All right, David? Richard, sorry.
Yeah, great to our viewers. I welcome you to our retail points at Old Port Bell Road, where we have a fully dedicated showroom for GWM, and you're able to have a look at our electric models. I've mentioned them again, Haval and Aura. You could also still come to our second retail point, which is our head office at Busega, and you should be able to see a diverse range of our electric models. You could also visit us on our website, www.wq.co.ug, which will give you a range of the models that we actually offer to this market and all the brands, but also we are highly social. And so highly social, for this particular podcast, please have access to GWM by WQ on Facebook, on TikTok, on Instagram, as well as any other social channel. And you should be able to interact with our consultants. And thank you so much.
All right, and if you've not been on an electric bus, that is exactly what we do at Kira Motors, and you still do not believe that these vehicles are actually made in Uganda, do visit us at the Kira Vehicle Plant in Jinja. The forms for you to fill in to visit us are on our website, that is www.kiramotors.com. We would love to see you there. And if everything that we've said here, you still have a bit of not sure, that is exactly why we have the National E-Mobility Expo happening on the 18th to 19th September. You will get the chance to not only see every single thing that they've talked about, but you will also get the chance to experience, be a part of these technologies, have a one-on-one interface with these machines and the people that are behind these innovations, so that you leave a believer, or like he said, you go spiraling on the Spiro. On the Spiro.
Into success.
Exactly, and on your way to